Hey everyone, my name is Ellie Mae with Swift Creek Customs, and you can find me on the Swift Creek Customs YouTube channel. I create a lot of content with the Siser Juliet and Romeo cutting machines, and I'm so excited to be here for the National HTV Day. Thank you, Siser and Heat Transfer Warehouse, for putting on this event. I'm going to be sharing Beyond Fabrics with the Siser EasyColor DTV. I have mine in a sealed envelope to keep any humidity out, because where I live there is humidity that could affect anything that you are printing, from copy paper to heat transfer vinyl. I have a couple things on the table here. These are some of my original shirts that I created when the Siser EasyColor DTV was released. That is over 2 years ago. These have been washed almost weekly, and the shirts are starting to show some wear and tear on them themselves, but the EasyColor DTV still looks pretty darn good for as many times as it has been washed. So I've had great success with this. I have tested it on things like wood. This one was a little tricky to get it to adhere to, but that wasn't the DTV fault. That was the wood sign and the powder coated paint that is on some of these wood blanks that you purchase at retail stores. I'm going to be sharing with you how to use digital patterns and use those with the Siser EasyColor DTV to create your own earrings. We're going to be starting with some wood blanks, and then we're going to be applying that Siser EasyColor DTV to those wood blanks. I will be demonstrating in the Siser Leonardo Design Studio software. All of the features I'm going to share are in the basic version of Leonardo Design Studio, so anyone can follow along and watch as well. I will also be demonstrating on the Siser Juliet, but Siser EasyColor DTV can be cut with a wide range of cutting machines. Any machine that can cut HTV can cut your Siser EasyColor DTV as well. So let's go ahead and get started in Siser Leonardo Design Studio, and I'm going to share some tricks to working with digital patterns in the basic version of the software. Now I've opened up Siser Leonardo Design Studio, and I'm going to be working with the basic version, which is free for all users. You can download that at the Siser website. Whether you have a Siser Juliet or Romeo cutting machine or not, you can still utilize what I'm going to show you in the Siser software and be able to create along with me. The process will also be able to be recreated in other softwares as well. They just may have different terminology and a different process in doing this, but you could still complete it. So I'm going to click down here in the bottom left corner and click on the Design tab. It's going to bring open my design mat. I'm going to show you two different ways that you can create with these earring templates or with these earrings. If you have a template, which I have created myself for my specific earring, and I will include the links in the class supply list as well for what I'm showing you. But I'm going to grab this and Control-C, oh, I didn't need to paste it there, Control-C, bring it onto my design mat for my file. And then I can start creating with this. Now the Siser Juliet and Romeo cutters are precision cutters, and print and cut is amazing with them. But it's always good to give yourself a little bit of wiggle room. So I am going to be showing how to create what is technically called a print bleed, but we're going to give ourselves a little bit of wiggle room, and then when we go to assemble the earrings, you'll see exactly why. So this is my template. This is the exact size of my earring that I am working with. I'm going to come down to the bottom toolbar, choose Build Contours, and then I am going to choose Editable Contour, and I'm just going to change this color so we can see it a little bit easier, and I'm going to increase that offset. It is not a particular size. I'm just increasing the offset however much you would like. Click Apply, and now I have an offset cut line of my shape. I have this template earring file. I'm simply going to work in this layers panel because it's easier for you to see when things where they are in relation to other shapes on the screen. So it is under the properties panel and then layers. I'm going to simply just click the eyeball. It's going to hide that cut line because I do not need it for my file. Now, once I have my shape, we're going to work with one earring at a time, and then when we get the pattern fill, we can make a copy of it so it's exactly identical. I'm going to open a pattern, and I'm going to be working with some alcohol ink patterns. And File, Open, And then I'm going to just simply select a bright pattern. So I'm going to select this 5 alcohol pattern, and I'm going to select background image. And then you want to double check here. I've already been working in the software, so it defaulted to my selection previously. But when you first open the software, it's going to say auto default. You want to select 300 dpi, so your PNG files open at the highest resolution it was created at. Then I'm going to choose next. This is also going to open the PNG file at the actual file size it was created at. Now, once I do put the pattern onto my design mat, it has now put the registration marks on my page. I can simply come up here, and for the video's sake, I'm just going to uncheck that for right now. We will turn it into a print and cut here in just a bit. And then I am going to select this little arrow here to condense that so you can see this. So I am working in this layers panel. The first thing I need to do is right now my pattern, since I opened it after the shape, it is on top of the shape. I'm going to grab this and I'm going to move it under the shape in the layers panel. You can see that my shape is now on top. And then I can kind of decide, I'm going to first make a copy of this, Control C, Control V. I'm going to move that copy over here, and I can either leave it here or I could hide it as well, either way. But this way I have an original. I'm going to show you how you can scale patterns. Even though we don't have a pattern fill panel, you can still scale patterns, and you want to keep in mind, you do not want to scale the pattern up, or you could lose image quality. So you want to scale down from the original size that it opened. So it's very important that you open at the 300 dpi setting so that it opens at the actual size it was created at. If you try to scale up, then you could lose image quality and it could pixelate. So in this case, I'm going to select the pattern on my design mat. I'm going to scale this down however I want. And then since it pulled it all the way in on the design mat, you can see that it now shows as the bold color. I'm going to simply come in here and I'm going to move this around wherever I want. You can see with this large pattern, I could make a ton of earrings and they would all be different. That's the one thing I really love about alcohol inks. Once I have it where I would like, I'm going to left click, drag across both shapes. So you can see over here that both my pattern and my shape is filled or is selected. And then I'm going to come down to the bottom toolbar here. And because I used the intersect previously, that is the icon that you see down here. So if your screen doesn't look the same, you're going to move over this icon next to the star and then come up here to the pop out and you're going to choose intersect. And then you have magic. So now we have our earring file here. And actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to undo this. I am first going to Control C, Control V. I'm going to make a copy of that the offset for the template, and I'm going to move it off my mat. Always good to keep copies of your originals. Left click, drag across everything to select, and then I'm going to come back down here and choose intersect. And now I have my first earring design. I can simply Control C, Control V. It's going to make another copy, and I can drag that over here. So now we've created our first pair of earrings. If you're doing double-sided and you want them to be identical, then you can, instead of having it this way, you can right click and choose mirror horizontal, and then those earrings will be mirrored in the pattern when you go to wear them. If you want to do double-sided of the same pattern, I'm simply going to select both of these, and just for this purpose, I'm going to group them together and Control C, Control V, and I can make a copy. So now I have one complete set of earrings for this. And I scaled that pattern down. Now, what if you don't have a template file or you don't want to take the time to create a template file? With the Siser DTV and the process we're going to use, it is very easy. You can come down here to the draw shapes. I'm going to create a rectangle, and you want to just make sure that your rectangle is larger than whatever size blank you are using. So I have a multi-pack of different sizes of earrings, And then I can arrange the earrings on the pattern when we go to assemble them. So I'm just going to show you with a basic shape. Now, if you have an earring that is a 2-inch circle, of course you can just draw a 2-inch circle. And then I would suggest creating the offset for the bleed as well. That will help you have some more wiggle room. Now I made this pattern, a copy of it, so I'm going to just Control-C, Control-V, and bring it back over here. And then I can decide, if I scale this down just a little bit and bring it all on the mat, you can see that it brightens up. If it is over the borders of the cutting mat, that's why it shows as the lighter color, because technically it could not cut out that shape where it is showing on the cutting mat. That's why you see that. You'll also see it in the print and cut as well. So I now have this. If I want to rename this, I could double click on it and just rename pattern 2, just so I can, oh, I just said pattern. That'll be fine. Pattern 2, just so I can distinguish where it's at in my shapes. Now I have these 2 shapes. The square is right here. And then I'm going to just drag that pattern up so it's underneath the shape. And here's a little tip. So if you want to see through the rectangle, you can come over here to the color picker, select the rectangle, and choose stroke. However, you will have to change it back to fill before you can proceed in order to intersect. So I can use this now, and what I can do is I can figure out where I want this to go. So let's just decide, we'll bring it down in here. Okay. Now, if I want to crop that, intersect it, I'm going to choose fill. I'll show you here. Let me just show you what it does on stroke, just so you can see that. I'm going to left click and drag across my pattern and my shape. I'm going to choose the intersect option, and it doesn't do anything. Because it is only the outline, the software does not see that as a filled object, so it's not going to intersect those 2 objects. So if I click undo here, okay, I'm going to move that back to where I want it. I'm going to select fill, so it's now a solid shape, and Siser Leonardo sees that. And then I'm going to left click and drag across both the pattern, let's come over back to the layers panel, pattern and the rectangle, and I'm going to choose intersect. Now I have a square that is the pattern fill, and I can position multiple earrings into this section once it is printed, and we'll be able to create with that. So now let's turn this into a print and cut. So I'm going to come up here to the artboard, and then I'm going to check the print and cut job. And I want to make sure that my paper size is set to what I'm using for the Siser DTV. It's going to be letter size. And then I want to select the page marks. And that is going to be the default page marks for what I have selected. Now you can see here, these top earrings fit inside of the boundaries of the print and cut. If you want to see all black registration marks, if you see red, there is something wrong. This is just a little bit wider than what, let's see, I can almost fit it if I do it perfectly. I'm just going to scale it down just a little bit so it'll fit in there. Since it's just a shape that we're going to use as our patterns, it's not a specific size, it's not going to matter. So now I'm just going to add another image real quickly down here because I like to print my entire sheet of DTV and use that. So I'm going to quickly make another set of earrings. I have sped up this section of the video to show that I am just adding the fill pattern to the earrings in the same exact way as I shared at the beginning of the video, and then making a copy. Now, once I have my sheet filled as I want it to, if I were to click send right now in the Leonardo Design Studio software, it's going to show a blank page because I have not told it that I want it to print and cut around those shapes. I'm going to come back to the design. I'm going to select everything, and then I'm going to come down to my build contours in the bottom toolbar, and I'm going to select build contours, and it is going to be a print and cut logo. I wanted to cut exactly as it shows on the screen. I do not need an offset amount for this, and I'm going to click apply. Now I have bold blue, it designates a dark blue around those. If I click on send and send again, now you can see I have my printed artwork in the top left, and then I have my cut contours in the bottom left. So I'm first going to print this on the Siser EasyColor DTV by simply selecting the print. You want to make sure that your correct printer is selected here. I'm going to send to printer, and then I'm going to print and change the source to my rear tray because that's where I print my Siser DTV. I'm going to print at the basic settings. I have great luck with Siser DTV, and I have shirts that are over 2 years old that have been washed many, many times, almost weekly. And I follow the instructions to the Siser DTV exactly, and I haven't had any issues. So I'm going to click OK. It's going to print. And then once it's printed, you do want to let the Siser EasyColor DTV dry, and sometimes dry to the touch is not always completely dry. So if you have a very colorful image, you may want to let it dry for a period of time. These are also going to be single images that we do not need a mask with. If you are using the mask with the Siser EasyColor DTV, you want to let that dry for 24 hours before you mask it. That will help you for your success, because that ink may feel dry to the touch, but it is not always completely dry, and it can affect how it sticks to the mask. When you're ready to cut, click on Cutting Contours and make sure your machine is set up for the print and cut, and we're going to show a quick glimpse here of the machine cutting this out. Now you want to make sure that your print is completely dry before you place it onto your cutting mat so that you don't smear the ink on your design or the registration marks. Then make sure your page is completely straight on the cutting mat. You want to give it the best chance possible for reading those marks and cutting accurately. If it's skewed on the cutting mat, it's going to have a hard time finding those marks accurately. Make sure to do your test cuts when you go to cut your materials. It's so easy on the Siser Juliet and Romeo cutting machines. Position the blade tip in the bottom left registration mark, and then you're going to go back to the software, click Send to Cutter, and then click OK once you have checked all of your settings there. So those are the cut lines, and then it's going to read the registration marks. It is super fast. This is sped up just a little bit just so that you don't have to watch the entire process, but it is now cutting the entire design, and it goes really, really quickly. I did even decrease the speed down to a 10. Cutting on super speed is not always recommended, but you can give it a try. And then this cut so nicely because I did my test cuts before I cut. So it cut out very, very well. And I'm going to give you a close-up look here at the actual designs. There is no white space, even around that white, the rectangle. Any white that you actually can see is like the edges of the Siser EasyColor DTV. It cut perfectly. And here is the bottom set of earring designs. Now, once you have your printed sheet, you can go ahead and you can arrange your earrings. You'll see here I have given myself some leeway. I'm going to use just a nail file. This is from the Dollar Tree nail file to file along the edges. It gives it a nice finished look, and we're going to be applying this. So I'm going to go through the application of one earring, and then it's the same process for everything else. This section here, I have these different shapes. So I can take this, I can use my scissors, cut it down a little bit to the size needed, and then follow along with the same process that I'm going to share with the first earrings. So it's all going to be the same application process, and we can go ahead and get that done. You'll have some new patterned earrings when we have the entire assembly done, and you can create all kinds of unique designs. So I'm going to get my heat press. I am using just a handheld press. You could use a heat press as well. I have my Siser press, but that takes up a lot of space on my table. So I'm just going to simply use this for the demonstration. And Heat Transfer Warehouse also has one of these little handhelds that you would be able to use as well. Anything, just as long as it gets hot enough to apply the DTV, you would be great. So I'm going to take these off of here, set those aside for if I'm going to use those. And I can simply, since it's one easy piece, I can simply peel this off, set the rest aside, and you can see here that it fits over my earring. Better to have a little bit of excess for the process that we're going to be doing than to have it not be big enough. So I'm just gonna move this over here into the area, wait for this heat press to heat up. It heats up pretty fast, and I have a Teflon sheet just to protect my heat press surface. Now you may have all of these supplies in your stash already, just kind of look around. I have a set of files from scrapbooking, my scrapbook days when we used chipboard. These would also work. Or I have this little handy tool, it's called the diamond tip reamer. It's going to help us with that earring hole so we don't have to get that cut exactly perfect on the earring hole. And it's going to give it a unique look. Now, once the press is ready, make sure that your pattern design is covering the entire earring shape. And even if you have the same pattern for both earrings, having it off just a little bit just creates a unique look for it. So just make sure your pattern doesn't move, and then place that on top. And then I'm just going to press down for a few seconds. This is the hottest setting, so I want to make sure not to burn it or to over press it. It's not going to be washed, but I will give a tip here. With Siser EasyColor DTV, you are supposed to wash before you wear. You can see that it pressed in there very, very well. You're supposed to wash before you wear. With this, you can't really wash these, and you don't want to soak them because they are wood. So that would just cause it to break apart. But I have taken a wet washcloth and wiped it over the top when I'm finished with it completely, and I have not had any ink bleed so far. So just make sure to test that with your designs. I do want to wait until this is cooled off before I actually start on the edges. I found that out. Otherwise, if the adhesive is still hot, it could slide. But with this wood grain texture, it comes through on that HTV. So I'm just going to let this cool off a little bit. When you're doing that, you can just start applying another design. And by the time this one is applied, then the first one has cooled off. So I'll just press that. And there is my next one. I just have a heat safe surface underneath it. Now, once that is applied, I'm going to take Dollar Tree nail file, and I'm just going to move this out of the way. It does create just a little bit of sawdust from the edge of that earring. And then I'm just going to file, and it comes off very, very easily because the DTV is so thin. So you don't want to pull it, you don't want to stretch it, but I'm just going to file this off. And there I have the edges of my earring. Doesn't take much time at all. I'm going to take the diamond tip reamer. I'm going to push it through the earring hole, and this one has, it's like an emery board. So I can just file that down. And then all you have to do is do the other side and add your hardware, and you have a unique set of earrings. So I'm going to finish out all of these. If you wanted to, you could paint the edges. My hands shake sometimes when I go to do that, so I don't really like that. And I kind of like the wood, rough edge of the wood edge there. Completely up to you. You could paint them before or after if you chose to do so. So I'm just going to go finish these out, and we'll come back and take a look at the finished pictures. Now I finished out all of the rest of the earrings. This is showing how I did that for the same method for in the entire thing. Wouldn't it be nice if we could all work this fast as the video shows? When it came to the rectangle, I just cut that apart for fitting onto the different shapes of the earrings. And then I really like this hardware. It's linked in the class supplies list, but you simply just push the hardware together on the earring and clamp it down with some pliers and you are done. But you could also use jump rings as well and the fish hooks or whatever earring hardware you prefer on your earrings or for your customers. Depends on who you're making those for. So I just continued to do that. I actually had to order some extras because I'd already run through all of my stash. So I had to stop recording the video and wait for my shipment. But I wanted to share the process with that. They're so easy to put together. It can create such a unique look with the printed patterns on the Siser EasyColor DTV. So there's all 4 of the earrings that I finished out. And then you can make this to match your shirts. All 4 of those are the same pattern and match that shirt right there. Check out the Swift Creek Customs YouTube channel to see the video on creating this t-shirt design in the Siser Leonardo Design Studio software. And if you are a new user to Siser Juliet or Romeo, I have just released the new beginner's guide to Siser Juliet and Romeo. Here's a look at the front cover. Make sure to check the class supply list or the video description below this video for additional information on how you can pick up that ebook and get started with your new cutting machines easily. Please let me know if you have any questions. Thanks for joining me and have a great day.